Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Sara Freeman Smith says it's not an accident that you're listening to her today. Let's find out more from Sara. Sara, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Sara, you have a book, Turning Stones into Gems. Can you explain what that title means? That's very unusual.
Actually, Turning Stones into Gems is about an inside-outside process. It's almost like a diamond in the rough. And as a matter of fact, when I speak, I use a geode. It's like finding out that it's your inward, your inside that is more important than your outward appearance. And unfortunately, society judges us all based on our outward appearance. And if we just took some time to just focus on the inside, our real beauty, our real value is on the inside. So it is helping people to get inside and really begin to love and know that they have value and purpose.
Now, you say in your book that by all appearances to the outside world, you looked like a success. And most people want to project that. And they probably wouldn't say the next part of what you say, but you say you didn't feel that you were successful inside and maybe even felt like a failure. Can you explain why? Now, you were in the corporate business world, and going through your book, it did seem like you were successful. And I think if I saw you someplace, I'd say, gee, we would like to be like Sara. She's an officer in that company. She's working there. She seems to have a successful position. Why did you not feel successful?
There was an emptiness inside of me because I had spent all of my career climbing that corporate ladder of success, taking the right courses, doing the right things, and wanting to gain others' opinion and value that, oh, yeah, she checked that box off. She's doing great. But yet there was an emptiness inside that there was a void saying, am I truly doing what I have been purposed and called to do? And more importantly, am I making an impact or a value, or am I doing this all for materialistic gain? You know, I could envision myself, you know, being on the front cover of Fortune magazine as this, you know, wonderful employed individual. But that really, really wasn't what I feel that was my calling. And so I that old adage, fake it till you make it. Well, I was faking it, but it wasn't feeling like I was making it. So that's why I was really, really, really not feeling I was truly doing what I was called and purposed to do, and just that emptiness.
Now, it seems to me, though, that takes a lot of courage, and you're a courageous person, but I would say above and beyond what most of us have, because either we have student debts or we have a family to pay for or a monthly obligation, whether it's called rent, mortgage, maybe paying an office rent and insurance obligations for that office, et cetera, et cetera. It's not as easy as it sounds, is it?
No, it's not. It really isn't. And for me, Bill, I grew up in a very religious, faith-based family. And when I went off to college, like most young people, you know, while I was growing up, it was not an option. You did what your parents told you to do, and you were in church. It felt like almost every day. But the moment I went away, it was like, oh, okay. And didn't look back, and really, really lost my place. And I think that was also a contributing factor. And there was some tragedies that occurred, some deaths in my family around that same time, that emptiness, that void that was not being filled. And I just had to take, a leap of faith, so to speak. And it literally was, and leave a very successful job and just be still. I literally had to just get off the merry-go-round. And that had to come from that solid faith and belief that God was going to lead me to my next calling or next purpose.
Now, we're fortunate to have you today, and we've mentioned your book, Turning Stones into Gems. So if our audience wants to know more, we'll tell them throughout the show how to get in touch with you, to get in touch with the book. But how would you advise people to get, it's so tough, I think, to get your priorities in order, as you mentioned, because again, you're out there, and what seems to be a priority, we're kind of marked by how much we make. The best baseball player makes the most money, and there's never enough. No matter what they're making, $300 million, it has to be $400 million the next year, and then $500 million. How can we draw back and say, what is going to align the real us, as you've done, and break away from that corporate world and find the real you?
Bill, to be perfectly honest, that's probably the most difficult part of my process. And that's the part, as I call the reflection phase, where you really, really have to just take yourself physically out of all of the distractions. And God only knows, with social media, the TV, all the things that we get ourselves wrapped up, we really, really can't see the forest for the trees, so to speak. And even if it's just stealing away for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, but be disciplined about that and saying, I have just got to clear my head. I have to clear my mind. And I really have to start reflecting what really, really makes me happy. What is it that I love doing, even if I did not get paid? And then just try to home in on that. And unfortunately, it makes it difficult because we'll always put, oh, well, I'm going to get to it. Oh, I'll start doing it tomorrow and tomorrow. And as I said, the best time to do it is stop talking and just do it. But it makes a world of difference in being honest with yourself, Bill. That's what also was hard for me, is to stop faking it and just say, Sara, this is what you really, really love to do. This is what you really wanted to do. You didn't think you could make it or achieve the success. But success may not necessarily be monetarily. It may be helping others. And that's when I started reflecting. And then it was amazing. People just started saying, you encouraged me. I did. All I did was listen. So
I was going to say, your book is a great example of that. And one of the things I especially like about it, I think it's about 100 pages. So if someone says, well, I'm not a reader or I'm a non-reader, you really don't have to be. If you want to get on the trail like Sara is talking about, and if you think maybe you're on the wrong trail, going the wrong direction, not entirely happy, not having your priorities straight. And what's nice about your book, too, on certain pages, you just ask about 8 or 10 questions for the person to answer. That's going to put them right on the right track, or at least get them going in the right direction. And, with that question, I'm going to ask you, because in your book, you compare yourself to Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Now, why are you like Dorothy?
Well, besides being my favorite movie of all time, I felt that I had gotten away from my home base, my home anchor, just like Dorothy. I had landed somewhere because I was in the midst of corporate America, following along others' footsteps, but they really weren't mine. This is what you need to do. Do this, and you'll ultimately be VP. Do this. And once I landed, it was like, okay, now how do I truly get to my place that is my anchor, my safe place, my home? And as Dorothy, we knew, all she did is she said, just follow the yellow brick road. And instead of the friends needing Dorothy's help to find, I needed some friends to come along and change my mindset, give me the courage to continue down that road, to give me compassion and stop thinking about me, but more importantly, about others. What's in it, not for me, which that's the famous radio station we all tune into, WWI-FM, what's in it for me. It wasn't about me. It was about how I could be of a help and blessing to others. So that's why I compare myself to Dorothy on that yellow brick road.
I think that's a very interesting point that you made out, because how many of us right now, and I think you hit home with a lot of us, are saying, well, that's my company. They're telling me if I sell 12 insurance policies or 20 next month, that's what I have to do, and I have to move up. And when I sell 20, they're going to say 22. And the next month, I'm going to have to sell 22 or 16 cars or $400,000 worth of stocks or mutual funds or something like that. And we're following someone else's footsteps and guidelines, but that's not us. Maybe we don't really want to sell insurance or cars or financial products.
You're exactly right. And oftentimes, it's all because someone told us what we really, we shared with them a dream or the passion. Oh, you can't make money drawing. Oh, you can't make money playing video games. Oh, you can't make money in the theater. I mean, we listen to those other voices, and sometimes even our own worst enemies or our own self-talk. Either way, we wind up following the path. Oh, it's safe. Family has always been in this business, so I'm going to be an engineer. They've always done this, so here I find myself doing it. May be okay, but I'm frustrated. So it is kind of carving out that path and knowing that there is one already in front of you, and it's not very difficult. You just have to pay attention, start connecting the dots, and as Dorothy did, one step in front of the other, and you'll get there.
Well, you've connected the dots for us in your book. And at this point in the show, I'm just going to stop and remind our audience, if they're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Today, our guest is Sara Freeman Smith. Her book is Turning Stones into Gems. And Sara, we're going to ask you about the website. Where can we learn more about this?
The website address is www.u, the letter U, the letter R, gems, G as in George, EMS.com, urgems.com. And by the way, Bill, if your audience checks out my website, they can get a free download of an action planner, which will help them with those questions I ask them, and they can actually fill them out and begin to think about what it is they want to do, as well as also a free 30-day prayer and a gratitude journal, all as a free download. Just go to the website.
We love that word, free. And in case someone heard what you just said but didn't get a chance to write it down, we'll ask you at least one or two more times during the show. So just hold on to your pen and pencil, and you'll have a chance to get that down. Sara, in your book, you talk of an anecdote or a parable called Acres of Diamonds. And we've heard it before, but we have different audiences every week. Please tell us that story about the Acres of Diamonds and how it applies to your book.
Well, as an overall summation, it's about an African farmer who always dreamed of gaining fame and riches in the diamond business. And he had, and he took all of his money and sold his farm and said, I'm going to go in search of acres of diamonds. But guess what? The farm that he was on had a lot of rocks and a lot of stones, but he didn't value that. He decided, well, I'm going to go follow everybody else and I know I'm going to come across my fame and riches. And unfortunately, he spent his entire life trying to find his acres of diamonds and ultimately died poor, destitute, and actually committed suicide. But let's fast forward back to the farmer who purchased the farm, the farm from him. And he too recognized there was a lot of rocks and nothing was growing, but he took the time to pick up some of those stones, some of those rocks, and had them examined. And to his amazement, those stones turned out to be diamonds in the rough. And he had acres and acres of diamonds. So the moral of the story, how many of us leave home, leave what we have, and it's right there in front of us, in plain sight, inside of us, or right there at our touch, but yet we chase the things that look good, that we've compared to others on the outside. And unfortunately, too many of us waste our entire life looking for something precious and valuable, and it's right there inside of us. That's where it starts.
I took a quote out of your book. You mentioned that we try to demonstrate our value based on circumstances or surroundings. And I thought, oh boy, that's really almost all of us. We want to show people we have either a nice house, a nice car, fancy jewelry. Some people can't wear enough jewelry, and you're looking at it and saying, gee, one bracelet would be enough. I don't know why you need 6 on that, one wrist. Or something so expensive that it's really outlandish, whether it's shoes, a jacket, a fur coat for something. And it almost seems that if a particular store even overcharges by $5,000 or $20,000, we want it from there, or we need that watch that everybody knows is a $12,000 watch, even though we could go to the drugstore and get a timepiece for $50 or $100 or $200. Is that the, I don't want to call it a sin, but the error of our ways that we get caught up in that, trying to impress people, and it's a never-ending competition.
And I was just as guilty at that point in that at that period in my life, because again, I spent countless times just saying, I got to look good. Not only the way I dress, the way I talk, everything was about what others' opinions and how others had placed their notion of value. And we spend, when you want to climb the corporate ladder of success, be careful where you prop your ladder. Which ladder is this going to take you? Is it all about material gains? And unfortunately, as we found during the pandemic in 2008 and 9/11, everything can diminish in a matter of seconds, and you've got to start over. These are all temporary. Nothing's fixed. I mean, when CEOs who founded organizations can get fired, what does that tell you? There's nothing secure. So if you spend all your efforts focusing on that, is it really worth it? So if anything, the pandemic taught us, get off the merry-go-round. We were all forced to reflect. And I think that's what caused the Great Resignation. So many people said, I don't want to get back on that race. I want to do something that can make an impact, that I can make a difference, that I know what I'm doing is being valued versus I'm just doing this and just checking off the box and putting, a big fat, check in my account. But guess what? There's a lot of millionaires and billionaires unhappy because they really, really are empty and void inside.
I think one of our guests had a saying, I'm thinking if I can remember it, we spend money we don't have on things we don't need to impress people who don't care. And I thought how honest it is. Like,
so well said. Yes.
I'm not a car person. I see people and when I get close, I say, oh, that car has a fancy name. It must be expensive. But if I didn't get that close, I wouldn't even know it. The car doesn't look anything special. Yeah. And yet they literally paid 5 to 10 times what I would pay for a car.
What it was. Yeah.
Because it has an impressive name or a foreign name, or it goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or something.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sarah,
I had to quickly do that. Yeah. I said, no way.
You give us a saving quote, because I think most of us feel like, well, I'm at this point. Am I really a success? Where am I in life? I'm 36 years old. I'm 7 years as an accountant, but I'm not satisfied, or a teacher. And you say that all past failures and misfortunes give you the tools needed for success. I'm going to ask you to expound on that a little bit, because we kind of feel that if we're failing at something, we're just kind of going downhill and picking up speed going downhill. But you're saying these are tools for success. Can you talk about that?
I sure can. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the tools can be put into probably what I call 4 buckets. It is the reflection phase. And then there is the refining phase, which is the most difficult. And then you go into reinvent. And then obviously in our careers, all of us ultimately will have to reboot at some point. Let's talk about the first phase, which is reflection. That is prayer. As I stated, I come from a faith-based, strong family background. But whether or not someone believes in God, I'd like to think most of us know that there is a higher person, a higher being in charge. So the reflection phase is getting off of all of the things that distract us. And first and foremost, social media is the biggest distractor. And just have some quiet time, meditation, solitude, Zen, yoga, whatever you find. I used to call it my prayer closet. I'd lock myself up in my walk-in closet so my son couldn't find me. So I knew I had some peace. Just be still for 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long time, but just clear your mind and just go, exhale. And I would take a pen and a pad in at the time, use it as a journal, and just clear my mind and just say, what is it that I have been purposed and put on this earth to do? I feel that I've gotten off track. I've had my plans that I've put before and wanted them to be blessed and have been successful, but yet something's missing. And that's all that it starts out. It's just finding that quiet, peaceful time and just listen to that quiet, still voice. And it will talk, but you got to be still, because if you're busy, there's no way. It's like trying to have a conversation with someone who's sitting in front of a computer going 90 miles an hour. They're not listening. So,
I love that analogy. Sarah, before we go further, I'm going to stop for a second and let our audience know that if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Our guest today is Sara Freeman Smith. She's the author of the book, Turning Stones into Gems. And Sara, would you tell us the website where we can find out more information?
Absolutely. It's www.u, the letter U, the letter R, GEMS, GEMS, G as in George, EMS.com, yourgems.com.
Now, Sara, you mentioned also that very often we tend to hold on to things, and I'm definitely guilty of that. I'm that one person. If I read a book, I don't want to give it up. If I have a connection with something, and even if I kind of know it may not be the best thing for me, or it's going to lead me to the success or true happiness, I attach to the old. Is there some recommendation you can give us to get away from that? Because, of course, if we want to find our true selves and put priorities in the right order, we probably have to move away from something that we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. And that's even a part of the refining phase. That's the planning aspect when you start thinking about your situation, your environment, circumstances. Oftentimes, they can be very toxic, Bill. You may not recognize it, but it's sometimes that friend or coworker or fellow student of yours that every time you say something, it's always negative. Why you want to do that? I don't see why you want to go and apply and take that job. You know they're not going to be hiring. I try those types of situations. You have to get away and let it go. And then past failures. Why do you keep bringing it up? Even if you did fail, as long as you learned from your failures, you have to keep trying. So if you hold on, it's like taking baggage that you have already been rid of, but yet you go back and pick it up and drag that into the present. It is going to get weighty eventually, and it serves no valuable purpose. So you physically have to extricate yourself from that. And I even tell in the book, you have to have a midnight madness sale on toxic people, situations, relationships, buy one, get one free, because I have to cut it off. And it's not returning the calls or wait a minute, just gaslighting, going silent. But if you feel that this is not a good situation and I don't feel good about it, why are you holding on to it? You certainly don't need other people to help tear you down. You can do that all by yourself on a nice little pity party.
I think that's so good that you present that, because sometimes we do need someone like a teacher or a boss or a religious leader or someone we admire to actually say that to us. It's okay to let go of that. If you're holding on to it, I mean, I wouldn't walk around all day carrying a suitcase that I would take on vacation, but I don't need it around my own time. Why would I be carrying extra 20 pounds? But I do that mentally with a problem or a failure that may have happened 3 years ago, and I keep beating myself up for it. And thanks to your book, Turning Stones into Gems, you're telling us, hey, it's okay to let go of that. And I think that's what we need. You have something called the 6P as in Peter, P for Peter, process. Can you tell us what those 6 Ps stand for? As
I stated, you can fit them in about 4 buckets. The 6 Ps are prayer, planning, and from planning, you got to have passion, patience, then you must have persistence. And the final P, pull up someone along the way or pay it forward for someone, helping others. And so, as I stated, they can all fit into like 4 buckets. The first bucket was the reflection, the prayer, the quiet, the solitude, using a journal, just sitting down and just thinking back, what is it that I truly, truly wanted to do? And then the refining phase is the hard part. The refining process is getting rid of impurities, debris, things that are not needed. Obviously, like the diamond in the rough, it's that outward shedding. But we know that's not easy. That's a painful process, but that's the letting go, shedding and getting rid of. But it's also sitting down and thinking back, what was it that I dreamed about doing when I was in high school, but was told by the teachers that's a stupid idea, or was told even by a parent. I have a son and I had to catch myself. You want to protect them and go, you need something stable and secure. You don't need something that's going to be cyclical. Well, if that's your calling, you have every opportunity and every right to do that. So the planning phase, then go into your passion. What is it that you would do no matter whether you were paid or not? Because I guarantee you, if you do what you love, it won't feel like a job at all. And then from passion, you have to go and have patience, because that whole process, that beautiful career, whatever that may be, does not happen overnight. We're going to get really, really in a hurry. Everything we got to do is right now. Well, unfortunately, it takes time. You have to grow into certain roles. You have to grow into certain situations. And then that's where you also have to be persistent, because you will get some no's. You will have some failures. You will have to turn around and maybe even get detoured. But don't lose sight of the end goal. Be persistent. Learn how to ask questions and ask them more than once to different people. And then finally, you will achieve your success. Then that's where you must pave it forward for someone else. Go back and help someone else along the way. If it's nothing else more than volunteering to help someone learn something or do something. But I truly believe when you've been blessed, you've got to give it back.
Sarah, I love that last one that you mentioned, pull someone else along the way, because I think we often think that, we need money to donate or to give something, whether it's food or lodging or something like that. But sometimes a sick person or an older person just wants someone to talk to.
Yeah, just your time.
Yeah.
The most precious asset that you ever will have. It's not money, it's your time. And if you can give just an hour to just sit, read to someone, let's say that's in an assisted living center, or to call and just let someone just talk. It is a beautiful thing, but just say, what can I do just to help someone else? And that's sometimes all that, like you said, I just want somebody to listen and just know that I am and recognize that I'm here. So
exactly.
Yes,
and I think that, what is it they say often, people, if they simply have a pet, just taking care of that pet gives them a reason for living and gives them a, more of a insight into life. And
Absolutely.
If we can give a little bit of our time, whatever it is, whether we're a former school teacher, police officer, or a job that might be thought of as menial, but still is very important in society.
It's very important.
It's important to that person we talk to.
Absolutely. That's why I believe in the power of volunteering. You can find it. You don't even have to leave your home. You can just volunteer from the comfort of your den or your kitchen or your bedroom, with a Zoom call or just picking up a phone and making a couple of phone calls. But find a way to give back, whether to your community, church, organization, somewhere.
And I think that makes for almost like a turn in the road, because it gives people the opportunity to see the world differently and maybe open up either a different career or a different passion to them.
Absolutely.
Or just tapping into a talent that they might have, music or art or dancing or something.
Exactly.
That they can share with others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sarah, you've been fantastic giving us this direction. I'd like to, again, remind our audience that our guest has been Sara Freeman Smith. The book is Turning Stones into Gems. And Sarah, once again, give us that website.
The website is the letter U is the letter R, GEMS.com, urgems.com. And don't forget to click on the resources and get those 2 free downloads of an action planner and your 30-day prayer gratitude journal.
Thank you for the direction you've given us today and all the good advice. Thanks so much for being with us. I'd like to remind our audience that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 98.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we will continue our journey to success.